Hello there. Today on Take Two, I am talking to Alex Christian about eating, holistic eating, and what all that means. And Alex, I am going to make a confession here. I came up with a way of eating a number of years ago that works really well for me. And of course, now I'm trying to push it down everybody else's throats. So what would you say to people that think, yeah, there's the one way to eat and it's good for everybody?
Yeah, so that's definitely a very common misconception with a lot of individuals that I come across in this industry. So, yeah, I definitely think that it is very, very individualized when it comes to healthy eating. Because when you say healthy eating, or like when someone says, "Oh, I eat healthy," it means completely different things to every single person. So what might be healthy for you, Joanna, might not be healthy for me. So it's just,
Right, right.
yeah. So
So you are a holistic nutrition person. So what does that actually, I mean, holistic, we get it. It's sort of all encompassing, but what does that mean for you in the way you practice with your clients?
yeah. So when it comes to holistic nutrition, it just means basically regarding each individual as a whole person. So looking at considering the body, mind, spirit connection in terms of like their stress, their energy, their sleep, what they're eating, what they might be supplementing with, how their lifestyle is in general, like how busy they are. So yeah, it means a lot of that, and yeah, it's very broad, and it's very different for everyone.
So when you are working with clients, what are kind of the first most common things that either people believe or are doing that you have to dispel, that you have to de-educate them on?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I find the most common thing is counting calories. And the second thing that comes right to mind is weighing themselves like pretty constantly and regularly throughout their week. So those are two things that I like to kind of encourage them to either stop or do it over a period of time, a longer period of time.
So talk to me a little bit more, and I totally agree with you. And I've heard this from a number of doctors and nutrition experts that say, don't count calories because it's ridiculous to think that 100 calories of candy is got the same nutritional value as 100 calories of cauliflower or spinach. So talk to me more about why counting calories is such a bad idea for people.
Yeah, well, basically it kind of helps, or it makes the individual become obsessed with like what they're eating and how much they're eating, which is the complete opposite of what I try to support my clients with, because the main message for me is basically teaching my clients to develop a healthy relationship with food. And when you're counting calories and when you're tracking in your food apps every day and like just counting every single calorie, it really takes away from the whole message that I bring, and that is to develop a healthy relationship with food. So I just think that the obsession is the probably the biggest thing there.
And I guess the constant weighing of yourself falls into that same obsessive category then.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've had clients come to me and say that they weigh themselves every day, and as well as count their calories every day, so that they do come hand in hand for sure, because that obsession is so real to them, and they end up waking up in the morning and just spending their entire day thinking about both of those things, like their weight and their calories, and then they go to bed thinking about the same thing, and it's just this constant obsession.
Right, right. So I know that you've just recently graduated and taken all the education around this. So kudos to you for starting a new business in the middle of a pandemic. Well done, well done. So give me a little bit of an overview of what you actually study to do what you are now hoping to do as a career.
Yeah, so I studied at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, which I just loved. I fell in love with that school so much. So I studied there from 2016 to 2017. And I took a whole bunch of different classes that they offered. Um, so it started out with the fundamentals of nutrition, which was really interesting. Just getting like the basics around each nutrient and all the food groups, and just kind of understanding that like the Canadian food guide isn't what it's cracked up to be. And then of course we moved into more sciences. We learned about chemistry, anatomy, pardon me. We learned about pathology and all of that. And one of my favorite courses was actually about spirit and like the body mind spirit connection. And that was really a lot to do with like each individual's kind of personality and like more deeper into like their mental health and like how they deal with stress. So that's like a huge thing that I really love to incorporate in my practice. And we learned and we did a lot of client case studies. So we would, I think throughout the year, we did 12 total client case study work. So those I was so keen on. Like I was always like one of the first people in my class to like get those done. And I just loved it. I loved meeting the new people, my volunteer clients, and just kind of understanding their understanding of nutrition, which was really interesting. And then just kind of working with them on like what we can do to make it realistic for them. And yeah, and I remember like loving that. That was my favorite part.
I want to go back to something that you highlighted, and that's the Canada Food Guide. I have seen a lot of people say that the Canada Food Guide is completely wrong and we should stop paying attention to it. What's your take?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is wrong because what I've learned is that when it comes to like the dairy part of the Canadian Food Guide, is that a lot of the dairy companies sponsor the Canadian Food Guide. So the dairy companies are making like money off of that because they're putting into the Canadian Food Guide that that's what you need every day. Like you need that much dairy a day. I mean, I'm sure it's changed a little bit. I know the food guide has changed a little bit over the years. I don't follow along with it, but there's also the meat aspect. Um, I just remember learning in school, like kind of rediscovering a food guide in our own way, like holistically. So it's just really interesting that they say they recommend meat and dairy and like their carbs, and it seems very backwards to what I now like to this day practice with my clients. So I think the dairy part really gets me. Not everyone needs dairy, and naturally I just feel that when you're a baby, you have your mom's breast milk, and then that should be it. Like I don't think it's necessary to drink milk from another animal when you as you get older. So it's just really interesting. That's kind of that went off onto a little bit of a tangent, but I'm just yeah, I don't agree with the way that the food guide is.
Okay, good, because I agree with you on that. And can we talk a little bit about food pathology? It seems that there are so many people now who are trying to solve medical health issues with food, and some of them quite successfully as well. Tell me, kind of give me your take on food pathology.
Yeah, so it's really cool once you that was one of my favorite classes at the end of my schooling, when it all kind of comes together. So when it comes to pathology, like I find it very helpful. Like for example, I had a client with chronic fatigue syndrome and IBS. So it was really interesting to work with her and kind of figure out specific foods and ways to kind of help her with that. And it was amazing to see like the things that were changing. So yeah, it's really interesting. I'm gonna be honest, like I do refer to my pathology textbook when I need it, and it is so helpful. And I find that nutrition is just so varied, and it's like you can't know all of it in your head. But I love that I can learn as I go in this practice and just keep learning because I am so new to it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one last question before we close, and that is, talk to me about your ideal client. Who are the kind of people that you would love to work with that you think you can actually provide real value to?
Yeah, so basically my ideal client is someone who has been struggling with yo-yo dieting their whole lives, that needs to basically drop the whole dieting mentality. And what I do is I'll teach them to develop a healthy relationship with food, so they can lose weight sustainably and naturally instead of, struggle with the yo-yo dieting. So that's my ideal client, and I am just so excited to like keep working with clients and down the road and just teach them how to drop that mentality and to just kind of integrate these habits into their lives that aren't so restrictive.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for all of that, Alex. And I certainly wish you luck. And then people can see right there. There it is, right there. alexandriachristian.com. Thank you so much for doing this and all the best to you, my dear.
Thank you, Joanna.